O'Neill, 2 L's. I serve the SGC under a General Hammond.
We're explorers. You see, we're from another planet.
The unstable vortex of a forming wormhole. Kawoosh.
Indeed.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode on the Kawoosh podcast, where we revisit Stargate SG-1 starting from Season 1. I am your host Arne, and this is the other host, Evie.
The other one. I
yes,
liked it.
the other one. And today's episode is...
Singularity. Yeah. I wrote it down.
Yeah, another one of the that I forgot was also a Season 1 episode, so yeah. And it opens up in the SGC with the gate activating and the team entering. They are going to go to another planet to watch an eclipse. And they hope to see a black hole during the, how do you say, the total...
Eclipse.
Total eclipse of the heart.
Ah.
And Jack says they hopefully can see the accretion disk of the black hole. And Daniel is very surprised that he knows about that stuff. But he is a bit of a stargazer. He has that telescope that we saw in episode 1. So they also reference, like, you didn't think that telescope was only for watching the neighbors, right? And then he says to Tilk, well, it wasn't at first.
Like, sometimes I like Jack, but sometimes he says things that make me want to slap him a little.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they arrive on this farm planet where SG-7 has set up Hanka Base.
And it's called Project 169.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
They have this sign up, and the sign is very clearly real, and then the city in the background is not real. And then we move into the inside, we're very clearly in a studio. But it's very well done.
Mm-hmm. But there is nobody there to greet them. And I also wrote down a nice matte painting of the town in the distance. So they walk along the path towards the base, and they find a body of a man clearly dead from a disease. So they immediately suit up. Jack starts disinfecting his hands immediately, and they run up to the base to check if anyone is missing this person or to see what's going on. And they enter the base. It looks deserted. So they come in past the telescope, which is standing there at the ready, and they open up the barracks, and they find everyone dead, all from the same rash and disease. And Daniel comes running up because he was checking out another part of the base, and he says they are all dead.
For dramatic effects,
because this is when we cut to credits.
Yes. So that's it for SG-7. They're gone. That's the second team we lose completely, by the way.
Yeah, we only see 1 or 2 shots of them lying dead
on
they're
dead. So that's the second team that's completely gone. And then we also lost half of team 2, I think.
They're very much
Disposable? Red shirts.
Yeah.
Red shirts.
So, after the credits, a team in full hazmat arrives through the gate, and Dr. Fraser sets up a safe zone. The team enters, and they have to go through decontamination. And Jack is the first to be tested since he was the one who touched the body. And at this point, Daniel sneezes, and everyone just stops what they're doing, stares at him, and Jack goes like, allergies, right?
And you just know that we lived through COVID at this point, because my first reaction was, why are you sneezing in your hand, you boomer? Like, please don't sneeze in your hands. People still do that at the place of my work, and I don't get to slap them. That's annoying.
Poor you.
Yes. Anyway, moving on.
So outside, the team goes around in their suits, tagging the local people that they find dead.
Yeah, but Teal'c doesn't have to suit up.
No, because his symbiont is protecting him. Apparently, the locals warned them that the darkness would bring death. And as you continue to come across new bodies and tag them, they see a hand grabbing one of those tags and taking it. Whoever it is, clearly a child, but okay.
Tiny hands.
They don't want to come out, so they ask Teal'c, because he's the only one not in a suit, to be a friendly face and go and fetch them. So, and it's actually pretty funny because he goes like past a tree and then his face changes to a friendly face.
Like And then he uses his dad voice and everything.
Yeah.
But as soon as he steps out with the child, he goes back to stern face. Like it's
Yeah, and it's a young girl. So Dr. Fraser and Carter are checking the girl, fully masked up, but when they think it's fine and she seems to be okay, they take it off, which was a bit fast.
Yeah, but we still are in a TV series, and you pay these actors for their faces.
For their face, yeah.
So, I can understand them. And I wrote down, Carter is going to adopt another puppy.
Yeah, and
Yes, it's very clearly that this kid just latches on to Carter.
she also has a
right away.
heavy case of the newt, so she doesn't speak for the first part of the episode. Carter tries talking to her, but she doesn't respond. She does put the tag on her shirt, and Carter thinks that, like, no, you're fine, you're not gonna die. And she tries to reassure her. But the kid does not want to let go of the tag. Dr. Fraser comes back and she says that she has found traces of naquadah in the girl's blood. So naquadah is the substance that the gate is made of.
I don't understand why you were explaining that to me. I saw the episode.
Yeah, but
You're just like-
you're sitting here and you're here for your face.
Are you mansplaining me?
Yes.
The gate? Oh my gosh. You know what happened to the last guy who tried to mansplain something to me?
He's in our backyard underground, right?
No, he's not. Please don't come dig up our backyard, okay? He's joking.
But yeah, Dr. Fraser theorizes that this is probably what saved the girl from the infection. And then she goes on to brief them that the bacteria at this point is in the ground and the water, but they are safe inside the base. So they think about evacuating and taking the girl back with them. But Carter, of course, wants to stay and photograph the black hole because it's apparently very important for science.
I mean, they've come all this way and they have the telescope. It makes sense.
Yeah, and it does make sense. It's just that we don't get any follow-up on the thing that we're supposed to do. Like, they take photos of the eclipse and they want to see the black hole, but then later on in the episode they will discover something else. So they never get back to that black hole.
Well, no, but okay, fine.
So if the science was that important,
Well, not for the story, but for
exactly,
the
it's
continuous.
like for story reasons, we don't need it anymore beyond a certain point, and they
Yeah.
will just forget about it. But just saying. But yeah, the girl has bonded with Carter, so they say, Carter, you will have to return, and Teal'c and Jack are going to stay.
I like that Jack makes that decision. Like, Jack is clearly, whenever there's a kid involved, he will act in the best interest of the kid. So as soon as he sees that, this kid trusts Carter, he's like, well, yeah, you're going back, and I'll stay.
Also, he knows telescopes, so
Yeah.
fine.
And these temporary sets are really good, which makes me wonder, did they actually just go somewhere with a telescope?
It's quite possible, because it's a big space.
Yeah.
And a big telescope, so I don't think you can rent those at a rental company.
No.
So they probably found something.
Yeah.
And then matched the outside to the inside. So.
Yeah, and then you only have to prep the decontamination glass double door once, and then move it from set to set. So, yeah.
So yeah, suited up, they take the girl through the gate and they come out the other side with the decon already set up, and the gate room looks very scary as the girl looks around. Carter brings her to one of the guest rooms, which is bare, dark, very sparse, but she reassures her that it's gonna be fine. Carter wants to go and she goes like, just stay here, and she grabs Carter.
Which I can understand that they can't exactly call social services. You can't exactly say, hey, we have a kid, but it's classified.
Yeah, and she's from this other
But Carter
planet.
has a job to do, and she spends a lot of time with this kid. And I just wonder, is around the scenes, are people just picking up her slack? Going well, I have guard duty now because Carter is coloring. I don't know. It's just... Anyway...
Yeah, she tries telling the child that there's a camera and she'll be able to see her the whole time, but in the end she gives in and just stays.
I mean, the kid doesn't know what a camera is.
Yeah, I thought it was like, oh, look at that thing, it's a camera. It's like, do we know this girl knows what a camera is? She comes from
Well,
a
she
farm
obviously
planet.
is supposed to know what English is, so I
Yeah.
don't. Anyway, yeah.
The planet is a little bit underdeveloped. We never get to know the people or their technological level, although they do have a space telescope. So
Well, do they have the space telescope, or was it brought in?
it's, yeah, no idea.
No idea, but it's not important to the
No,
story
not
because
important.
Cassandra is important to the story.
We don't know that yet.
Oh no, spoilers.
Yes.
People who watch this obviously didn't see the show yet. I do
This
apologize.
show from 1997.
Yes. At a certain point, spoilers just don't apply anymore.
Hammond is being briefed, and on the monitor we see the girl in a room which is now full of toys and drawings. So I think it's kind of to show that we're jumped ahead a little bit, although then we cut back to the planet with Tilk and Jack still
Well, the
there,
thing
so
is,
it can't be
kids-
that long.
But you know how fast kids can just
Yeah.
turn a space into their
True.
own. You're like, you turn around, you're like, I just cleaned this.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't say anything about time.
So Dr. Fraser says she counted over 1,400 dead, and she thinks the girl might be the cure.
Is this the point where they say that they brought the flu to another planet and it mutated?
They say that?
They said at a certain point, they said it's probably something we brought on and then it mutated on the planets.
I'm sorry, completely missed that.
And
Might be here.
And I felt it was brushed off a little quickly because sure, things like that can happen, but there was no point made of how are we going to avoid this in the future?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna keep bringing the colds, flu, and stuff like that to other planets.
Exactly.
It was brushed, and then later on, it turns out that it wasn't the case. But still, it was like very lightly, like, oh, okay, cool. We just, are we back at the planet? Is
No,
this where-
Hammond wants to know why the telescope team didn't let them know what was going on, but they can't really answer that. And the camera turns back to the monitor with the girl and Carter on there, and it dissolves into that scene. Oh, I always loved when cameras do that. Like they turn to a monitor, and then we're in that room without
Yeah.
a visible cut.
The Matrix does that too.
Yeah. But she's painting dead bodies and one person, or like a kid, clearly a kid, standing crying. And Carter takes a brush and paints herself alongside the crying girl.
Crudely, I might add. Very, very crudely.
Yeah, the girl drew better than that.
Carter did not... She skipped art class.
Yeah. But she does get a smile from the girl.
Yeah, but she has to say, that's me. And I'm like, yeah, you have to tell her because
Could be anyone.
could be anyone.
Back on the planet, Jack and Teal'c are waiting, and Jack's like, well, this is fun.
And then Teal'c stoically swivels on his chair.
That was so fun.
I love Teal'c.
He saw a chance and he took it.
And then we cut right back. Like, that was all. Just like, you remember these? Okay, cool. Moving
Well,
back.
we do get a little bit of a short scene because for some reason Teal'c doesn't know what a black hole is, so he asks Jack. I was a bit surprised. Teal'c is from a spacefaring
Yeah,
people,
but
and
that doesn't mean that the Goa'uld tell them spacefaring stuff. He's a
True.
soldier. Soldiers don't need to know what black holes are.
that's true. Anyway, Jack then tries to explain it badly, I might add. But
Yeah, and
like,
then Teal'c humors him. It's like, I see. Thank you. like,
So we cut back to the base. The girl is sleeping with Carter next to her, and Daniel comes in. And then Carter wants to leave and get out of the bed, but as she moves, the girl wakes up, and again, she stops her from going. And she, at this point, speaks and says, I don't want you to go. And this is where we learn that her name is Cassandra.
which kind of threw me for a loop because mostly when one person survives in a village and she's named Cassandra, it means prophecies and stuff. So I was like, oh wait, maybe it's that, but it wasn't.
Well, isn't Cassandra like a bringer of doom or something?
Well, yeah, but that's because she knows the truth and nobody believed her.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was
Yeah,
probably
it's-
randomly picked and not.
I think it's maybe kind of picked for that reason, but it's not the parallel. The parallel is not really there.
No,
they,
but yeah.
They don't use it any more than just the name, and she says that she has pain, and she points to her chest. So Dr. Fraser tries to find out what's wrong with her. They're unsure, but at this point they are sure that she doesn't have the disease from the planet, so it's something else. And as they stand up to go, Cassandra collapses, and they listen to her chest, and she has an irregular heartbeat. So
Is it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Is it too late for me to point out that when the kid goes, I have pain and it's here, like if it had been a man in charge of her watching over her, he would have just been like, oh honey, that's normal, you're just sad, and then everything would have gone to shit because nobody listens to kids when they say they're in pain. Sorry.
No, you make a good point, Dr. Fraser. But and I was like, oh, she goes in. Well, the doctor goes in and immediately goes for chest compressions, which, according to Dr. Mike, is the correct thing to do.
A Dr. Mike shout out.
Yeah.
Oh yay! Cool.
So the medical.
I also paid attention, and they actually did everything correctly. Like the chest compressions aren't correct, but they're movie correct. Like you can't do real chest compressions on actors because you will hurt them. But they're as accurate as you can make them out to be and still be safe. Also, the blocking in this is really cool because they come in and they do all these motions, and the camera really, like this entire episode already, like the camera movement and the use of space, it's really well thought out. Like it's been practiced and blocked, and it's just a marked difference from
last time,
week.
yeah. So
Sorry,
like you said, the
you.
medical team rushes in, they put her on the table, and then they do the obligatory defibrillation, which is, well, it does fit because it is used for irregular heartbeats and not bringing someone back when your heart doesn't beat.
Yeah,
but they do that afterwards. So
no, but Dr. Fraser literally says irregular heartbeat, so the response is correct. But then the sound mixer went in and put a flat line under it.
yeah,
And I'm like,
And
was there a
then-
miscommunication here? Because you can't have a flat line and then
then-
use a
yeah.
defibrillator, because then you're just... I am overthinking it again. Please continue.
But when they get her heart pumping again, they go in to listen and they hear mechanical pumping.
Yeah, they hear like...
So they put up an X-ray and it shows a metallic growth in her chest, and it wasn't there 10 hours ago. So
Which means that they did a chest ray before. Which just goes to show that you need to go in the military if you want healthcare.
that is actually one. Yeah,
I know,
it is true.
I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, it is true.
But they find, the alien thing in her. And what do
Yeah.
they do?
Well, they immediately go in with an operation to put a camera in there and to see what it is. And we can follow along on one of the monitors, and it shows some sort of metallic ball that is part organic. And the doctor wants to go in. It's a male doctor, by the way, this time doing the operating. And he wants to go in and scrape some samples off, but at that point the heart starts racing again, and this is where she actually flatlines. So yeah, again, they come in with the defibrillator, which is wrong. You should do compressions to get the heart pumping again, and then you can use a defibrillator. Thank you, Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike shout
Yeah,
out.
so the pulse goes back to normal right as they want to go and shock her.
Yeah.
So that device clearly has a mind of its own. So Dr. Fraser and Hammond are doing a walk and talk through the hallways, which is always cool. Because
Walk and talk is always nice.
It's a cool base, so they have to use the hallways. And Dr. Fraser is of the opinion they can't remove it without killing the girl, and it clearly has the power to stop and start the heart. We cut to Cassandra, and she wakes up from a nightmare she was dreaming about her mom. Carter tells her everything's going to be fine. And
Which, rude, Carter.
Yeah.
Don't lie to the kid.
Yeah. But she tries to reassure her, like, once everything's fine and we'll get you out of here, I will show you the rest of the planet when you're better. And as she leaves, she finds Daniel on a chair in the hallway waiting.
Why isn't the kid monitored? They put her back in the bedroom. There's no monitor. There's no
there's a camera.
sensors. The sensor can't see. The camera can't see when she flatlines again.
That is actually true. Yeah.
So I can understand why we need to see between Carter and Daniel. I don't understand why the kid isn't being monitored.
She should be in the medical bay.
Actually, yes. Yeah.
Although she probably is physically fine, they know there's something wrong. And
Well,
so
yeah,
she
but
should
if
be
they
there.
know you
Yeah.
are at risk of heart stopping, heart failure, that's the correct term, then they usually just put you on something.
Although they clearly know what it is, and it's an artificial thing that is causing it, so they probably think as long as we don't tinker with it, she'll be fine.
Anyway,
it's kind of the thing with when a writer writes something and he knows it's not important, they kind of forget to go in these kind of details. It's not really a problem. It's just
we're
happens.
overthinking it.
Yeah.
I like overthinking things.
Anyway,
But
Daniel at this point,
yeah.
he offers to sit with Cassandra if Carter wants some time to herself, but Carter says, no, I want to do this. And he says, you don't need to do it alone.
Which is a nice moment.
Yeah.
Like, I like how, Daniel cares about the team and he...
But this is nice because we've seen a lot of moments where he's a bit more selfish, and this is kind of like the first time that he goes like, no, I can help too. You don't need to do this alone.
I think most of his selfish moments are emotionally charged, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, if he actually has time to sit and think, then he's gonna do...
He is kind of the emotional one in the team.
Yeah.
That's like kind of his function.
Oh, I thought it was Teal'c.
Also, in his own way.
Right.
So we cut back to the planet.
Stop saying cut back.
Well,
Back on the planet.
we're back on the planet, and the roof of the observatory opens up, and they start with the telescope. At this point, I was wondering, like, wasn't the virus in the air, and they're just opening up the
Oh
roof?
my gosh, you're so right!
Like, how high does the virus go?
But I can totally understand. Nobody just thought of that.
No, they forgot about
Nobody
it.
just thought of
probably,
that. I mean,
Because we
remember...
need to get to the next plot point.
Yeah, but just remember when our country needed to get everyone vaccinated and the vaccine was 2 shots, but they just ordered 1 needle per person. Like, do you remember that? Like, people
Yeah.
just don't think about those things unless they suddenly happen.
So yeah, at this point, the eclipse reaches totality.
Dun dun dun. It's very underwhelming.
Yeah, and we are back in the base where Daniel and Carter are looking at another scan. And there are 2 elements in the ball, and there is a barrier between them, but it is deteriorating. So they are going to perform a test with the 2 particles,
Yeah.
microscopic particles that they know that are inside of it, and see what happens when they bring them together. So they do
I think
this.
the second they said it's divided by a membrane and it's deteriorating, like it's a time bomb. It's a time bomb. It's a time bomb. Guess what it is?
Yeah, and they have these 2 robot arms in some underground bunker that touch them, and it like the
You mean-
whole room is gone.
But which is very easy to do. You just make a big flash.
Yeah.
You blank it out and you put a sound under there. And then Daniel makes a very smart remark like, "Are we safe?" Which, well,
Yeah,
yes, but also no, because Cassandra is right
Yeah,
there.
because those 2 particles were microscopic,
Yeah.
and she has a rather big ball in her
So
chest.
basically, we have a Trojan horse bomb.
Exactly. On the planet, Jack and Teal'c are watching through the microscope, and they see something next to the eclipse. And they zoom in, and it is way out of focus. So Jack is like, no, that is way closer than the start. Zoom back out, and it turns out it is a Goa'uld ship. It's an attack vessel. And at this point, I wrote down that when they entered the base, all the way in the beginning of the episode, you could hear the Goa'uld theme in the music.
Ooh, nice spot. I didn't
Yeah.
catch that.
So when they were walking around with the telescope, you could like hear those few notes on the violin playing the theme. So
Nice.
that was actually like a flash, how do you say it, a reference forward to when we would see that it was the Goa'uld who did it.
Nice.
So the whole thing was a setup. They brief Hammond that they used the girl as a Trojan horse, knowing that they wouldn't leave her behind. And at this point, they also timed when the barrier would deteriorate, and they have 1 hour and 50 minutes left. Cassandra is coughing in her bed, and Daniel and Carter come in. Carter is mad and like very emotional. Like, how could they do this? Daniel mentions that the Goa'uld don't see her as a person. It is a cheap way to blow up a planet.
I mean, yeah, they did just kill 1,400 people. Like, they're not gonna care about this one girl.
And back at the telescope, Teal'c identifies the ship that they are looking at as that of Nearty, a Goa'uld scientist. At which point they are, for some reason, spotted, and they have to leave the base in a rush because attack gliders are coming down.
Yeah, maybe they were spotted because Jack opened the roof. And they were like, hey, what are they doing? That's a telescope. Cool, cool. So they can see us? That is a good point. And then just maybe like, sir, they're watching us.
Yeah. And kind of the same time on Earth, they make the decision that they need to bring the girl back, because if she explodes, she will take out a good chunk of the planet. So they take her to the gate, and it's intercutting between Jack and Teal'c rushing towards their gate and them bringing Cassandra to the gate on Earth.
Because Jack and Teal'c know that the whole point is to get Cassandra to step through the gate, and then the gate will be destroyed. That's the point.
Because Teal'c remembers a story where Nerty did basically...
You keep saying nerdy.
That's how they pronounced it.
That's not how Teal'c pronounced it.
Nerty?
I think he used an r. Now we have to watch it again. Anyway.
So yeah, Teal'c knows a story about Nerty and how they did basically the same thing to another Goa'uld system lord. And they brought a Trojan horse in, and when they went in reach of the gate, the whole gate exploded, and the Naquadah of the gate combined with the Naquadah in that bomb just destroyed the whole planet. So they are racing to the gate, the attack gliders are coming in, shooting at them, exploding the road. Oh.
Very cool shot that they use in the opening credits.
Now both sides end up dialing the gate at pretty much the same time.
And Jack goes, dial faster! Like, well, Teal'c is already... Can I just say, I love how the Stargate is basically 90s dial-up internet. Like, as soon as somebody picks up the phone, you're done. It's gone.
It is directional. That is the whole point of the Stargate. It is only radio waves go back and forth.
But remember when, you had to scream like, get off the phone! My internet! You never had dial-up?
No, I never had dial-up.
You never picked up the phone and had to be like, ah!
I know what it is, because I used to go to people with dial-up and use their internet before we had our own.
You didn't even have your own internet. That's so sad.
I was 18 when we had our first internet connection at our own home.
I was younger than that, like way younger. Yeah.
It took a while for my parents to get it. Anyway, so Teal'c and Jack managed to be the first ones, and they jump through the gate as the explosions are going off behind them. And the girl...
Which is very cool, because you can still see some dust entering the gate with them. That's a very nice detail.
Yeah, they jump through on the other side, and like debris following them, which is really cool. On the other side, in the SGC, the girl collapses and falls into a coma, and Jack and Teal'c come through the gate and warn them away and stay away from the gate.
Which, I mean, at that point, they were like, now we know why they kept the team from contacting us to warn us. But how did they keep SG7 from contacting them? Because they were in their bunks. Or did they take them out and put them back in their bunks?
I think the disease was probably extremely fast.
Well, so fast that you can't pick up a phone, and I don't know. Well, you have to go and dial the gates, of course. Well, they could have written something in, I don't know. I'm overthinking it again.
It's the disease at this point... Again, isn't explored any further, like how fast is it?
It's not the point of the story. I apologize. Just keep moving on.
So Hammond wants to know how sure Teal'c is that they can't take the girl through. He tells them not to attempt it, because it is the Earth gate they want destroyed. And they remember there is an old nuclear shelter only 20 minutes away. So they take the girl there. They drive up by a jeep, and they carry the unconscious girl inside. And Jack offers to take over, but Carter declines.
And I think Jack already knows at this point that there's a possibility Carter is not coming back up.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does a quick calculation. He says you will have 4 minutes to get back up with the elevator. And without a single moment of doubt, Carter steps inside and starts the descent. And on the way down, of course, Cassandra wakes up.
And I love how Sam's actor reacts to it. She is visibly upset. And she has no lines here, but they're just such good actors.
You can see at this point, because as long as the girl is unconscious, it's like maybe she's already gone or something. But the moment she wakes up, she realizes like, this girl is going to die.
And also, I'm going to have to walk away from her while she's awake, which is not easy.
Yeah, and she's like has a tear running down. The elevator reaches the bottom. They step out. It's a very dark and creepy place, and Carter opens up a bunker door, takes Cassandra inside, and tells her she has to go. Cassandra at this point says, "You told me you'd never leave me alone," and Carter repeats that because this is something she says throughout the episode. "Remember, you are a very brave girl." And she steps away and starts closing the door, locks it, crying all the
Oh
way.
my gosh, that was so powerful. She just has a breakdown in the
And
elevator.
yeah, she starts going up and just breaks down and kicks
the walls
yeah,
and just, and then you can see her make the decision.
to go back down.
To go back down.
And up on the ground level, they see the elevator changing directions, and Jack goes on the intercom, yelling at her like, "What are you doing? You have to come back up." And she, ignores it.
No, she says she's awake, sir. Like she explains
Yeah,
why
but
she's
he
doing it.
orders her to come up.
First he orders her, and when that doesn't
Yeah.
work, he says Sam. And Jack almost never says Sam. He only uses it for very serious
Yeah.
occasions.
So Sam goes
Occasions,
back down, opens the door, and hugs Cassandra as the final minutes count down.
And Jack tells the team to leave, and the team refuses to leave, which I thought was a very nice moment.
In one shot, without a word, they
Yeah.
just look at him, and he understands, like, oh, they're
Yeah.
not going.
Yeah.
And they stay there, and you see Carter, Cassandra hug it out. The clock counts down. There's dramatic camera moves, and then nothing.
Yeah, we know they're not gonna kill Sam.
Yeah. So they think, were we wrong about the time? Were we maybe wrong about what would happen? And Jack runs up to the intercom, calls for Sam, and he hears them back. They're both fine. And Jack asks how she knew it would be fine, and Carter says it's because she woke up when they took her away from the Stargates. Like, for some reason, she realized that as long as Cassandra is not near the gate, it would be fine.
And I love how, like, Daniel gets really excited and he slaps Teal'c in the arm, and Teal'c just goes like, "Did you just slap?" Like, the face he pulls is very much like, "You kick."
And then we flash forward. Carter, Daniel, Teal'c, and Jack are walking into a park. Teal'c has a fedora on his head.
I love it.
So funny.
It's a very nice hat.
Yeah. And Jack comes up to Cassandra and tells her there is one rule on Earth and it says that every kid should have a dog. And he hands her one.
And then Samantha, what am I saying? And Cassandra looks very serious, like, okay, apparently this is a rule. Oh, this thing is cute.
So they walk up to, Daniel asks Sam again how sure she was. And Carter says she just knew. And Teal'c then offers, was it maybe mother's instinct? At which point Carter just shut him down. No.
He's like, nice try, but subtle. But no, I'm not adopting this kid. Who is adopting this kid
Yep.
is going to be Doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Fraser will
Dr.
take
Fraser.
her on as her daughter, both because she is technically an alien and there was something wrong and they can't really talk about it, so she will keep an eye on her.
Yeah, you need proper clearance and everything. And then Jack says, I'm going to take the dog for a walk. And he walks off carrying the dog. And I just want to remind everybody who has a dog that they come with legs. And the whole point of walking a dog is to have the dog walk.
So yeah, all the men leave, so Carter and Cassandra can have a final moment to talk. They go over the cover story. Stargate doesn't exist. She was born in Toronto.
Which is a very nice cover story because Americans don't know what's in Toronto. I mean...
Yeah, and then Cassandra looks around the playground and she sees a couple of swings and she asks, "What are those?" And then they go back. They go back there to go.
Yeah,
to the
she
swings.
says we had never had any of those in Toronto. Like, it's a very good child actor.
Yeah.
And that's the second child actor they had, and both of them were really good.
But she's well written as well.
Yeah,
like she's
but
a smart
sometimes,
kid.
But sometimes the dialogue hits, and you can just see that they picked this kid off the streets, or the kid did very good in an audition, but came onto the set and everything just changed. Like, it can be really hit or miss. But both of the child actors that they had so far in this series were really well. They did a good job.
You really don't know what a kid is gonna do when you put him on a set with a whole crew,
True.
lights, a camera. It's very overwhelming, and there's more than once that a really good
Yeah.
actor on the audition just doesn't work on screen.
But they could have very easily said, we're just going to give her not a lot of text and, you know, it doesn't really matter if this is a good actor or not.
True.
But, so yeah, so this was a fun episode and I'm very glad because it cleared the palates of the last one.
It's also a character that will return in a future season. I'm not really sure what the storyline was in the other one, but yeah, she is a returning character, which is kind of cool.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see, though.
And they, from time to time, Dr. Fraser will also talk about her in the series, so she doesn't just disappear into nothing.
You made a point, just jumping back a little, you made a point to say that Nirti is here talked about as he, and you said that's weird. I thought it was a she. So either you're misremembering, or they changed bodies, or the writing just went, hey, no, you know what? We found this very cool actor, and we're just going to use her. We don't know.
They probably, when they wrote this, they probably didn't have an actor cast yet and just didn't think about it, so they went with he. But when Nirti does show up in later seasons, it will be a woman. But also, as you said, it's a very good point that the Goa'uld are parasites. They can just change bodies. They can...
Yeah, or, you know, it's very easily explained. It's either that or Teal'c heard a rumor, and a rumor is always, you know, like a story of...
It's not a big thing.
No, but I like that you said it's gotta be a woman, because I'm like, oh, cool, actually a smart one this time, and not just a breeder.
Yeah, she comes back more than once, and she is a pretty cool character.
Like evil scientist vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I love me a good evil scientist.
Yeah, so yeah, that works really well. She's a lot better than Hathor.
That's a low bar to clear, though. Again, I no dislike on the actress. She did a phenomenal job.
But yeah, the point that you make that they can choose any gender is fine. But again, it was 1997. It wasn't at the top of the mind of people back then.
No, but
so,
Jetsia Dax, never mind.
True,
Let's not get too much into it.
Yeah, so Star Trek was maybe a
little... The main point is, it doesn't matter that, you know, Nirti is gonna come back and turn out to be female. That's...
No, I was just a bit confused when Teal'c said he, and I was like, am
That's
I remembering
not how
this?
I remember it.
Yeah, this was a good episode. It's just cool. It's a cool idea. The Trojan horse with the bomb inside a girl, and actually, it's very typical that Carter is the one that bonds with her, but they're such good actors. I didn't mind. Like she doesn't go for the motherly vibe.
Oh no, definitely not. I thought that was very nice too.
Yeah.
She doesn't try and replace anyone in Cassandra's life. She just tries to be supportive.
So that all fits. Like it's not like they forgot her character suddenly because there's a kid there. So it's really well written, really well acted, and as you said, the camera work was really on point in this one.
Yeah, the blocking was. They were in very tight spaces often, but the blocking was very well. I like blocking. Good blocking does a lot.
Yeah, they have this huge set of the command center, and I love it when they use it. You can really move around. They have big spaces. It's all interconnected. Use it. Not everybody does that, and on location, it sometimes is a little bit harder, especially when you're dealing with matte paintings and stuff like that. But they make up for it whenever they go into spaces to use the space well in this one. So yeah, even when it's just two people talking.
Yeah, and I like how they use the hallways, because so often hallways are forgotten, and then you keep looking at series going like, but how does it interconnect? Where do we go from there to here? But here
also,
they use the hallways.
The fact that Carter comes out of the quarters and Daniel is sitting in the hallway waiting. So they're even using the hallways for different things. Like there's conversations happening in hallways, which is very natural. Like it makes sense that he's there waiting.
Yes.
So yeah, really well done.
Wrapping up?
Yes, we are wrapping this one up. Where can people find you on the internet?
I am Evie Belknap on TikTok and Blue Sky and Instagram.
And I am Arne Kustermans on Instagram and Iradonian everywhere else, including YouTube. And yes, I am on TikTok, but you'll never see me posting there. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the next one. I haven't...
You're only on TikTok because I wanted to send you Pedro Pascal movies.
And then you didn't.
I haven't sent you some. Okay, I will. My TikTok is full of Pedro Pascal videos. I will send you some.
I regret it already. Anyway.
You take that back, sir. One shall never regret Pedro Pascal.
Oh, no, not Pedro Pascal, just the barrage of messages
The
that's going to
barrage?
come my way.
I don't even say anything. I just send you videos. They don't need anything else. They speak for themselves.
So we'll see you all again next week for the next episode. And until then, enjoy this one. Bye.